Fuck. I'm going to be talking about drugs today. Just like that, we're getting into it. Just like that, we're getting into it. I have been like 3 days off of caffeine. I know people might not think that's a drug. This shit is brutal. It has totally killed my drive and my energy levels. So much. It's been brutal. Really, really brutal. Like, I don't even want to make videos. I haven't wanted to make a video for a week straight because it's just killed off all that drive. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about drugs, the truth about drugs. The real truth about drugs. The actual truth about drugs. I'm not going to be holding back on this video. It might be 2 parts because when it comes to demonic possession, that's kind of its own category, but that is a big part of drugs. It is. It's a huge part of drugs is demonic possession, and I will bring that up. I don't even care. I didn't go through all those experiences, multiple of them, like lots of them, to not talk about it on my fucking channel. So anyway, but we are going to be talking about drugs. I am not a doctor. This is an informational video only. I am not a person that prescribes things that I did not take to other people. I love saying that. If you're a doctor and you're offended, I love you. And if I get shot, please save me. But you know what I mean. But if you can't handle that, I mean, come on. Anyway, where to start? Drugs. Give me a minute, all right? I'm not going to lie. Like, the whole caffeine thing has fucked me up. I have to get back in the flow of it. If you're looking at my hair and you think this is the right video, you're correct. Drugs. All right. Personally, I've done meth, weed, Adderall, a few different kinds of pills, cigarettes, that's a drug, caffeine, that's a drug, and I've hung out with a lot of heroin addicts. I've been around a lot of heroin addicts. It just played out that way. I don't know why. But, and also with that disclaimer, there's a big reason for that, is I'm also talking about Advil or Tylenol or anything for like cold and flu. All those things are drugs. Which brings me to my next point. This book, it's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's written by a guy in the early 19th century who studied the richest and most powerful people on the planet. Hired by the richest person on the planet, Andrew Carnegie, who owned U.S. Steel. So anyway, this is a great book. It's watered down. If you go and buy it, just know that this book was released and people were like, whoa, what the fuck? And then they, changed that. There you go. So that did happen. So if you read this book, it ain't going to be like, whoa, on all that. But it does bring up a lot of the topics, which is important. And one of the things I wanted to bring up here, even though I don't know how good it's going to be on me trying to show you on camera, is this section called the 10 stimuli of the mind. And it goes over to this page, so I'll show that to you real quick. But what it says is the 10 different stimuli of the mind. I'm trying to make this video quick. So the number one stimuli, we're not going to get into all these topics. The number one stimuli is sex expression, the desire for sex expression, love. The third, I'm going in order. A burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, money. These are things that stimulate a person to get a result. 4 is music. 5 is friendship between either the same sex or those of the opposite sex. 6 is a mastermind alliance based on the harmony of 2 or more people who ally themselves for spiritual or temporal advancement. 7, mutual suffering, such as experienced by people who are persecuted. And you see that a lot with trauma bonding. 8 is autosuggestion. Repeating the same thing over and over and over and over and over again like they do in school. 9 is fear. And the 10th one, the lowest vibrational stimulant, is narcotics and alcohol. So if you're on narcotics and alcohol, you probably experience fear. Autosuggestion works. So if the government keeps you on drugs like Advil and all these different medications, as stupid as that sounds, it lowers your vibe, made evidence by some of the richest and most powerful people on the planet. And so chances are you probably got a lot of trauma-bonded people that you're around, mutual suffering. So you go to a hospital, all the other people that you're friends with, you know, or you're not even in that world. Maybe you are in the drug world where you're on meth or heroin. And it's easy to see how everyone's like, oh yeah, my court dates and blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, my judges are. They're just sitting there talking about how they're going to go to jail. I see it all the time. People that are in court or people that are in the drug world, they're talking about how they're getting fucked over and they're getting fucked over. They're just repeating this information. Lots of fear-induced situations. And there's a bond between you and people that are also suffering. That goes into narcissistic relationships and all that. But I didn't want to show that at the fucking list, below fear. And I have an experience, which is why we talk about demonic possession and drugs. It is important because the only thing that's going to get you guaranteed to a level to where these fuckers can fuck with you is if you do lots of drugs of any kind. You know, so yeah, cigarettes, nicotine, all that stuff's drugs. Caffeine's drugs. Everything that's from pharmaceutical companies is drugs. There is things you can take that aren't bad for you that are like natural remedies that are in pill form. Those do exist. And I'm not saying every single pill on the planet that came from Big Pharma is technically evil, but pretty much every one of them, yeah. All pain medication like Advil and all that, I don't take any of that stuff. I feel great. I never need it at all. So it's really important that I say that. I never need that shit at all. I feel good all day. Disease, yeah, I don't get that. Because I feel good all day. When you feel good all day, your body's in an alkaline state. Disease can't exist in the body. So taking these pills, it's ironic. Because you'll go to the hospitals, man, there's a lot of sick people here. Well, what do they do? Well, they take medication. It's funny. Ain't that funny? Like, and they just keep coming in and out. The same people that go to hospitals are the same people that go to hospitals. Like, they go back to the hospitals. Like, they end up back in that hospital again. In like a couple months, a year or 2 years. I don't go at all. I feel great every day. Fuck 100 bitches right now. I'm just kidding. But I feel great. Like, let's go! Like, I feel good all day. I don't take drugs. I just told you and the funny thing is, when you're aligned with your higher self, aka you feel good, and you're sober, it's more or less you're aligned with you, because you can be sober and still not worked out your problems. But when you're feeling good, you're aligned with your higher self, I can't even do caffeine anymore. Like, I remember I used to be able to do meth lines and cigarettes and smoke weed and drink a Red Bull. You know what I mean? And that's because when you're out of alignment, you're kind of used to it. It's really weird. You would think that when you come into alignment with yourself, your resistance would be higher, but it's not. It actually plays out to where you feel so good, feeling so good that the littlest bit of you off skew kind of hits you hard. It's the truth. So, you know, I can't even do a Pepsi. Like, I can't even drink a Pepsi. It's a low vibrational item. And that's why drinks like that are like $1 at vending machines. There's a reason why you can go get your high fructose corn syrup, aspartame filled caffeinated soda for $1, but it takes like $3.50, $3.60 to get this shit made out of actual organic USDA approved, you know. There's a reason. It keeps population down. Throughout history, drugs have been pumped into societies to lower the vibe. A lot of people in America don't know this, but we spend millions of dollars a year trying to keep the flow of drugs from Mexico, from South America, from places like that. We spend millions of dollars in border patrol, all the stuff you know what I mean, to eliminate drugs from coming in, but yet we actually spend billions of dollars for those drugs to come in. You know, a lot of people don't get that. It ain't drug dealers in New York that own poppy fields. It's a big topic. A lot of people probably won't believe me, and I'm not trying to get into it all now, but the truth is, the very people, like, I will say government, because that's really the truth. Like, at the highest levels, working class slavery, it's easier to keep us lower if drugs are pumped in. You know, now weed and other things are legal, and and by the way, drugs do have their place. And I mean this. A lot of people like to demonize experiences, you know, and Abraham Hicks talks about this a lot, which is, you know, people coming into this world and they think they can categorize what's right and what's wrong, and that they should eliminate all that. No need for all that. And that's not how life works. I can tell you right now, lots of my spiritual journey has gone through drugs. Most of the most incredible experiences I ever had were on drugs. Also the worst, but the most building. As they say, negative experiences are there for help you clarify what you do want. So when you go through horrible shit like drug addiction with narcissistic parents and demonic possession and all that other stuff, it helped clarify what I do want so much. And I'm better off than most people that never touch drugs because of this. So I do want to say that if you're watching this video, I'm not against drugs. If you're on a drug, keep doing the drug. You need to get this stuff in your mind cleared out before you quit. Otherwise, you'll always think that there's something missing. And I'll get into that real quick. But I did want to say, I'm not against drugs at all. I don't judge people that are on heroin, meth. And ironically, people that are on drugs don't think they're drug addicts. This is very important. Most people that smoke cigarettes would not believe me if I told them you're a drug addict. They wouldn't. Up until now, if you're watching, I don't know what you're on watching this video. But if you drink caffeine, if you drink soda or green tea, pretty much anything, you can walk into Walmart, look with your eyes on the label. You have to do that. You have to have that habit. You have to have that habit in this life, especially in America, because most stuff's poison. Most stuff's illegal in other countries. You can't eat it because it poisons people. It gives cancer. Like things in products give cancer. Dyes. Red dye number 40, yellow number 5. There's a bunch of different things that causes these problems. Anyway, so you should read labels. So if you're a caffeine addict, you might not even know you're a caffeine addict. That's the funniest thing. And you'll judge me back when I was on meth. You know how many people I know that smoke weed, cigarettes, and drink caffeine? That's a big 3. I've never met a heroin addict that didn't smoke cigarettes. In your life, comment below. Whoa. Right. I've met a lot of heroin addicts, never met one that didn't smoke cigarettes. That's how drug addiction works. And because it's number 10 on the stimuli, when you do a drug, it is a gateway to do other drugs. Because when you do a drug, you have vibrated low. You do a drug, you smoke some weed, right? Ooh. And again, I'm not demonizing these experiences, but I'm going to tell you the truth. So this is how it is. You smoke some weed. You're high. You probably know what it's like to be stoned. Honestly, I got some experiences of why I personally don't like weed. I don't like weed because there was a time where I was in the hood of St. Louis and I got done smoking a blunt with a stripper in the hood. And I was in this Russian security guard's house, and I smoked this blunt, and immediately I heard gunshots about 100 feet outside the building, and some guy was shooting out at the cops, and the cop ended up tasing him on the door of our house. So his body was hitting the door of our basement. So I thought he was going to come up from the basement. The security guard I lived with kicked over a couch, pulled out a gun, and I realized while I was stoned that I couldn't do anything, and I didn't like that. I personally didn't like I know if I was sober, I'd grab like a stick or a butter knife. I'd be ready. I know me. But I was stoned. All I could do was stand there and get shot or run and flee, and I remember that. And I didn't like that feeling because fear is above drugs and alcohol, so now you're subjectable to it because you lowered yourself below it. So now it has influence above you. It can. You take Advil, you might not, you know what I mean? But you take Advil every day or all the time, the point is it lowers your vibe. And, I can walk up to people and look at their life and be like, they just drank a Monster. They just hit their vape. They're not feeling so good. They just took some Advil. Like, you are lowering your vibe. And when you do that, you're sending out a vibration into the universe that's like right here. And law of attraction says whatever you put out comes back. So you're going to have a craving. You're going to have a need or a desire to throw out that low vibe again because you did it. So a manifestation will occur of shitty results, right? But a lot of people don't know, there's we can study the brain and look at addiction and all that, and people have studies on that, and you can listen to those people. That's great. I'm more of a master of law of attraction and manifesting. And the truth is, you put out a low vibe, it's got to come back. So there's going to be a desire to continue that habit. It's really good to look up neurological pathways and habit building to understand how this works. But the truth is, you got a habit now. If you do a drug, you're gonna, like, for instance, I did caffeine, and then the other day I found a beer walking. I manifested a beer sitting there. Like, I manifested a beer unopened. I also manifested some meth on a fucking foilie over here. Just drinking caffeine. Like, that's what I mean. Like, I drink a couple of, Red Bulls or whatever for like a few weeks. And now I could pick up this meth on this thing and smoke it. No, I didn't do it. But I could. Wow. And then there was a beer. Well, I drank that beer. And ironically, after I drank that beer, I obviously drank another beer. And I almost smoked some pot. And I was like, it was really difficult. Really difficult. We talked about masking the pain. Drugs mask the pain. But it was really difficult. So I manifested those things. They popped up because like attracts like. Like attracts like. So knowing what are drugs is important, because when you're on those, you will manifest drug dealers, people that come into your life. Like attracts like. People that want to make money selling drugs. You do drugs. They manifested a potential person. You understand? Everybody is creating their own reality. Some of us are at different bandwidths. Some of us are famous celebrities and billionaires. Some of us are low-bottom drug dealers, narcissists, whatever. And that's why you will see a lot of narcissism play out in drug addiction. And that is why my mom wanted me to stay on drug addiction. Now, at a slightly higher level, we can get into demonic possession, which is going to be probably my second video, which is a big part because they want you to be at a low level so they can feed off you. And I have stories that you may or may not believe. I don't really care. Anyway, when you're on drugs, you don't know you're a drug addict. This one time, I got picked up by this girl. I'm not going to tell her name because, she might watch this. I don't know. And, I hung out with these two heroin addicts. And I wanted to know what it was like to, I wanted to help them out. I know because nobody ever helps them out. They just demonize them as people. And so I did returns for them. I went to stores and returned clothes that were stolen because I wanted to see what the experience was like. And man, was it brutal. Like, not only do you need to get this drug in order to not feel pain, mask the pain, right? Which is so obvious when you look at it, when you look at a drug that you're not on. Because you could be watching this and be a pothead and you go, I don't do that. Right. Whatever. Whatever. Anyway, and so they have to, like, heroin's a big one. They have to, like, figure out a fucking way. So if they have to steal from people they care about, whatever, and I've been in drug addiction enough to know that I still love these people, even though they're being little shitheads. And so I went out of my way to do returns. I used up all my returns at Walmart, all these different stores, and man, it was so brutal. All kinds of events happened, but I knew I was safe because I could feel it. And I remember I was with this girl, and she was talking about my tooth hurt, by the way, and my tooth that's gone now. Brutal. Oh God, I have a whole story about that. But anyway, my tooth was rotting in my mouth. Nobody gave a fuck. My mom didn't give a fuck. Nobody gave a fuck. And I remember. The girl next to me told me a story about how she felt bad because she gave a person heroin for the first time and then that person died a few years later. And so sometimes she blames herself. Hey, your tooth hurts. You want some heroin? She did that shit. Like, within like 30 seconds, and then she did a story about somebody she gave heroin to and died. She was like, hey, you want some heroin? Just a little for your tooth. I was like, oh, I'm good. She really didn't know. Like, and I remember she was telling a story about somebody, and she goes, oh, shit. Because here I am in the world. Like, how many people hang out with heroin addicts that don't do heroin? Like, none, right? So the only people, when you're on a drug, are other people that are on the drug. And other people that are on the drug are excluded. Which is a big topic, which is you cutting off these trauma bonds, mutual suffering, as I mentioned in the book. See how you're raising your vibe? You got to get off the drugs. You're rising out of the fear. You got to cut off the mutual suffering of these people. you're raising your vibe. And so when you do quit drugs, you're eventually going to rise your vibe up to where mutual suffering is gone, aka you won't be hanging out with drug addicts, because that is drug addiction, is pain and suffering. Like it just plays out that way. It plays out that way every time. Not saying that you should demonize drugs. Not saying that. I cherish a lot of my times on drugs. I do. I just am at a point now where I'm a new person. I've raised my vibe up. I'm a new person. Like, I don't want to do those activities. As I just mentioned, I don't like the feeling of being stoned and then, like, somebody's about to break into our house, shooting a gun at cops, obviously going to shoot us, whatever, and I'm not able to do anything. I don't like that feeling. You know, I really don't like that feeling at all. Anyway, and kind of spacing what I'm talking about. Oh, well, yeah, mutual suffering with people. Anyway, I'm kind of everywhere. Like I said, I just quit caffeine a few days ago, so my brain's I'm still healing from it, honestly. And also, some people were walking by, so my attention kind of went on them. Anything else? Come on, I know there's a lot. Pow, pow, pow. Anything else I wanted to say about this topic? I can feel these people. They got red pants like I got. They got red pants too. Brad can't tell. Anyway, sorry about that. Energy. God damn, I hate these space outs. Well, I don't want to get into demonic possession yet, because that's a whole other video. I didn't want to get into that. There's too much more on this. Anyway, when you're on a drug, sorry, that's what it is. When you're on a drug, you don't know that you're on a drug. And this person was talking to me, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, I meant normal people." Like, this bitch looked at me and said, "Oh, I meant normal people." She said that, like, as in people that do heroin, because that's normal. Like, in this world that she's in, I've been in drug addiction for years. The world that you're in, this is your reality. You create your reality, you're vibing low, you're creating a low reality. Other people that aren't in this world aren't in your world. You might go to Walmart, they walk by, but they're not in your world. It's a really deep conversation, because you're resonating at a certain level, so like attracts like. These people that may be walking by, they're not in your world. They really aren't. And so, you know, the fact that she said that, it's so obvious when you don't do heroin, looking at a heroin addict, normal. I used to think smoking weed and cigs and drinking a beer once in a while was normal. It's normal. Like, it's so normal. You don't understand? You know how many people probably watch this video that smoke weed? And they're not ready at all to come to terms with their drug addict. Like, you smoke weed all the time. You keep having to do this thing outside of you to bring you happiness. It doesn't actually bring you happiness. It doesn't. You can try. It might mask the pain. It relieves the very thing that it caused. Again, obvious when you look at somebody doing a drug that you don't do. It's obvious, like heroin. If you don't do heroin, look at heroin addicts. It's so obvious that the heroin is the problem, right? But when you smoke cigarettes or vape or drink soda or do some Advil, it's so funny, because all those things cause the problem. They cause the very problem. They do. You taking pain medication and stuff is manifesting future situations where you're going to need to take pain medication. Again, not demonizing drugs. You know, if you want to get high, have a fun time, quote unquote, go for it. But drugs in general, when it comes to remedies, I'm just saying. It's just a big topic. It's a deep topic. It's not a topic a lot of people are ready to hear in their life, you know? If you were trying to convince me that I can't smoke pot, like, you know, years ago, like 5 years ago, if you were to tell me, you know, you could have $1 million, but you got to quit weed for the rest of your life. Oh, like, realistically, like, you know, you couldn't cheat it. Oh, I probably couldn't do it, which is crazy. Which is so crazy. Because now I take that offer, obviously. But, you know, then, no, couldn't even imagine that. All my dreams are all fantasized with the drug around it, you know. And, you know, being a sailor, smoking my pipe, you know, that's even tobacco, smoking my pipe. It sucks. Like I've already went through it. It sucks. It causes suffering. It does. You know, this video's gonna cut out in 5 minutes. Sorry for that brain fart. I hate that. I get that all the time. I know that has to do with drugs. Well, it doesn't have to just do with drugs. I also have a Cancer rising. My rising sign's Cancer in the 29th degree. So anytime somebody walks by with their own energy, I'm very sensitive. Cancer is very sensitive, and I'm at the highest degree. And my moon's in the 4th house, so my rising does affect my personal thoughts and who I am on the inside at times. I wear my heart on my sleeve a lot. But when people walk by, oh yeah. I will say this just happened. I know it's kind of off topic. I was walking into Walmart just now, before I made this video. And when I was walking in, there was a guy in his little electrical cart in front of the doors, and the doors wouldn't open. And he was like, fuck, mad. He was, you know, just upset about his cart. And I walked past him, and I made a punching gesture for some reason. Like, if I was that old man, I'd be punching that thing. I'm making fun of him because he's mad. Then I walked past this lady who I'm guessing was her husband, and she was like looking at me saying negative things under her breath about the husband while looking at me. You know what I'm saying? So she was really sending me a vibe. And I did the behind the back finger guns, like blew her brains out. Kept walking. And then comes in threes. Things come in threes a lot. And then I went to the bathroom, and when I walked to the bathroom, I opened up the bathroom door, and I smacked this dude right in the face. And he was an old Asian guy. Smacked him right in the face. And I immediately threw him love, and I said, are you okay? And I touched him, and I even shook his hand. Like with both my hands. It was really interesting because I knew I sent him energetics that he probably hasn't felt in a long time. Maybe years. Nobody gets tactile contact anymore. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. That just happened. What does that have to do with drugs? I don't know. But I told you, and you just deal with that. That's for you now. But I did apologize to the guy, you know. I don't feel bad about it all, though, because I could see manifestations happening that were negative, so it doesn't surprise me that something else happened. And I was the cause of it, you could say, but he manifested himself to be by that door. And I chose the part to raise my vibe, which was throw him love. So. Yeah, anyway. Anything else I want to say before I'll make part 2 about demonic possession, because it's a big part of drug addiction. And it's something that you probably will not even know about. Like I said, you're in drugs, you don't even know you're a drug addict. I've watched a heroin addict say normal people. You got to understand there's an illusion spells and things that are cast upon people that are on drugs. And people at the highest levels, billionaires and up, pump drugs into their own countries in order to keep the working class population at a level where they don't rise up. That's throughout history. In China, it was mostly opium. Throughout most of history of China, opium. Produced by the people in charge. Crazy. It's so crazy. Crazy. Anything else? This is a big topic. Yeah, if you are a smoker, for instance, I highly suggest Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking. If you smoke cigarettes or vape, nicotine, if you're on that drug, it is a drug, keep smoking. Buy that book, read that book, and keep smoking. By the time you finish the book, you will quit with no withdrawals. It'll blow your mind. It happened to me. It happened to almost everybody that ever reads the book. Look up the reviews. You would think that a book that says how to quit smoking really fucking easy would have horrible reviews on Amazon. 5-star reviews all the way. Because if you actually read the book, you'll quit. Don't quit, then read the book. Read the book, then quit. Read the book and smoke. By the time you get to the end, you won't even want to anymore. Because it gets rid of the illusion. And which brings me to my last thing. Don't be a recovering drug addict. When you get off drugs, rebuild that habit with something you want to do. Like, go do things. Like, I've been doing lots of staff. That's what got me off caffeine recently, just doing staff. Ironically, I remember when I quit meth for like 2 years, during that one time in my life, I first got into staff. Yeah, because I was just focusing on something I wanted. I didn't even notice that I quit the drug. So don't be a recovering drug addict. Don't be thinking about how you quit drugs every day, years down the road. That's fucking horrible. You're focusing on what you don't want. And last minute, hopefully this will cut out. The thing about drugs is this cuts out. I'm supposed to. The thing about drugs is when you do quit, the reason why you want to clear the bullshit in your head first is you need to realize that you're gaining things walking away. When you quit weed, you're gaining your voice. I can speak. Fuck you. When I quit weed, I didn't quit anything. I got my ability to do hobbies back. I'm not content with being bored and playing games and stuck in my house, afraid to go outside. I gained things. It's so obvious. That's why I didn't smoke recently, because I knew if I did, I'm just losing things. A lot of people look at drug addiction and they think they're giving up something. You're not giving up anything. That's the biggest illusion. I got my power back. When a guy breaks into my house this time with a gun, I got my power. I know I'm ready. If I was stoned, I couldn't do it. You see what I'm saying? That's a big part of drug addiction. Whatever book or whatever way you learn about quitting, whatever it is you're on, the biggest part is realizing you're not actually giving up anything. You're gaining a shit ton of things. I'm going to end it with that. That's the secret. That's the real secret behind getting over all drugs, is that when you quit, I did caffeine for a couple weeks now because I couldn't just quit even though I knew it sucked off the bat. I had to sit there and experience the shit and watch my manifestation start sucking ass to realize I'm gaining everything back once I walked away and focused on what I wanted. And I feel great now. So I love you guys. Like, subscribe. I'm going to make a part 2.